Breaking news, Hamas agrees to hostage release. Trump's peace plan in play. Hello America, and welcome back the American-ish zone. We have potentially groundbreaking news from the Middle East. After nearly 2 years of devastating conflict, a major development has emerged concerning the war in Gaza, with Hamas making a significant announcement that could pave the way for a major shift. Before we dive into what this means, I want to ask you, our viewers, do you believe a peace proposal from former President Trump has a credible chance of ending the conflict in Gaza, given the deeply entrenched positions? And secondly, what are your biggest concerns about any potential peace deal in the Middle East, particularly regarding the long-term security of both Israelis and Palestinians? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear your perspective on this incredibly complex and vital issue. We have breaking news coming out of Gaza tonight. Hamas announced on Friday night that it has agreed to release all of the Israeli hostages currently held in Gaza, as well as the bodies of those who have died in captivity. This extraordinary statement comes in direct response to the peace proposal introduced by former President Donald Trump earlier this week. In a statement posted online, the armed group declared it would release the hostages according to the exchange formula contained in President Trump's proposal, and as the field conditions for the exchange are met. They added, in this context, the movement affirms its readiness to immediately enter into negotiations through the mediators to discuss these details. This is a monumental development, if true and implementable. Hamas's statement went further. The group also said it agreed to hand over the administration of the Gaza Strip to a Palestinian body of independent technocrats based on Palestinian national consensus and Arab and Islamic support. This is a significant concession regarding governance in Gaza. However, it's not entirely clear from that language if Hamas has agreed to a crucial stipulation in Trump's proposal that calls for the group to be barred from exercising political power in Gaza in the future, or if it envisions a place for itself or its members within that body of technocrats. This ambiguity could become a major sticking point in negotiations. The critical question now is whether Hamas's response will satisfy both Israel and the White House. The statement, for example, conspicuously did not address key elements of the American proposal that called on Hamas to give up its arms, a major non-negotiable demand from Israel. Nor did Hamas address the offer of amnesty to its members who commit to coexistence. These omissions are not minor. They represent fundamental disagreements that still need to be resolved. Let's briefly reflect on the devastating context of this potential peace breakthrough. The war in Gaza began after the Hamas-led October 7, 2023 attack on Israel, which brutally killed roughly 1,200 people and saw 250 more taken hostage. Since then, the Israeli military response has been relentless, resulting in over 60,000 Palestinian deaths, including both civilians and combatants, according to the Gaza Health Ministry. The territory's infrastructure has been utterly destroyed, leading to an unimaginable humanitarian crisis. The sheer scale of this conflict underscores the urgent need for any credible path to peace. Now, let's pull back the curtain on how we got here. Just weeks ago, on September 9th, in a stunning and brazen provocation, Israeli jets launched a volley of missiles that arced high into the atmosphere and came down on a residential neighborhood in Doha, Qatar. The target, Hamas representatives who were discussing a possible plan to end the war. This was effectively negotiation by bombing the negotiators. This audacious act, even more than Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's other aggressive moves over the past year, so rankled government officials in both the region and Washington that it threatened to blow up any prospects for a ceasefire. But here's the twist. The brazen Israeli attack failed to kill its targets. Instead, it motivated an angry President Trump and his advisors to pressure Mr. Netanyahu into supporting a framework for ending the war. This came after months in which the president had appeared to give the Israeli leader a free pass to continue assaulting Hamas, even as the death toll and suffering among Palestinian civilians rose to alarming levels, leaving Israel increasingly isolated on the world stage. Just 20 days after that Doha strike, Mr. Netanyahu and President Trump stood together at the White House, declaring support for a plan that could end the nearly 2-year-old war. Trump, with his typical hyperbole, labeled it a big day, a beautiful day, potentially one of the great days ever in civilization. Mr. Netanyahu, ever more cautious, merely stated the proposal achieves our war aims. President Trump, true to form, has given Hamas a hard deadline, 6 p.m. this Sunday, to agree to the plan. After that, he has vowed that Israel would have his full backing to eliminate Hamas as a threat. Trump dramatically wrote on social media, "If this last chance agreement is not reached, all hell, like no one has ever seen before, will break out against Hamas." This is a clear, unambiguous ultimatum, ratcheting up the pressure significantly. Even if Hamas agrees to the full terms of the plan, the challenges of carrying it out would remain substantial. Some cracks have already emerged in the support of the coalition of Arab and Muslim nations that initially signed on. And critically, Mr. Netanyahu reportedly watered down some elements of the proposal in a way that leaves him with considerable flexibility to continue managing the conflict on his own terms. This suggests potential for future disagreements and maneuvering. Efforts to bring lasting peace to the Middle East often end in frustration, if not outright failure. However, in bringing several of the parties together, this push by President Trump and his advisors has at a minimum shown promise. It builds on his first administration's success in negotiating the Abraham Accords, the agreement that normalized relations between Israel and a number of Arab nations. This entire process, which included secret, high-stakes diplomacy among nations that had long lost trust in each other, ultimately agreed on a path to end the war. It was a process that even brought Jared Kushner, Mr. Trump's son-in-law, back into his old role as Middle East negotiator. It reportedly forced Mr. Netanyahu into a humbling apology for the Doha strike. And it has left Hamas with what could very well be a final opportunity to head off an open-ended Israeli offensive. According to Ned Lazarus, a professor at George Washington University's Elliott School of International Affairs, whether or not the peace deal proves effective, the act of unifying Arab and Muslim nations around a plan, also backed by Israel, was perhaps the Trump administration's most successful act of diplomacy. So, as we await Hamas's full response to Trump's deadline, the Middle East stands at a precarious crossroads. This potential agreement to release all hostages is a glimmer of hope, but the path to a comprehensive and lasting peace is still fraught with immense challenges. The world watches, hoping that this time the devastating cycle of violence can finally be broken. We'll continue to track every development and bring you the unbiased analysis you expect from the American-ish zone. That's our deep dive for tonight. Join us again soon for more critical news and insightful commentary. Until then, stay informed, stay engaged, and good night, America.